Right then guys, it's PSL here for the 15th episode in my Formula 1 2003 Reverse Grid Race series. And we're here for the American Grand Prix at Indianapolis, the second to last race in this season. Now I'm going to go through the starting grid quite quickly because there weren't really any shock qualifying results. Well, there was one, but it's down the other end of the grid, so it's not really going to have any bearing on this series. So we've got an all Minardi front row and then an all Jordan second row. Something we haven't seen for a little while because, well, 2 races ago, Ralf Furman crashed massively due to a rear wing failure. Baumgartner then qualified for the Hungarian and Italian Grand Prix and didn't really fully exploit the pace of the Jordan car. Which is of course fully understandable. I mean, you know, he was a emergency mid-season replacement. Of course he's going to be less familiar with the Jordan than Fisichella is, or even than Verstappen is with the Minardi. But of course now Ralf Furman is back in the car, he's able to fully exploit the pace and out-qualify Jos Verstappen. So it's both Minardis, then both Jordans, then Justin Wilson of course, but Pit Sonia in the game in the Jaguar. Then Frentzen, Webber, Heidfeld, both BARs of Jacques Villeneuve and Button. Jarno Trulli, De Matter. David Coulthard, as always, in 13th place. So that's 8th in real life. David Coulthard, I mean it's quite, well, it's a anti-achievement, isn't it? Bearing in mind he's driving what is, at absolute worst, the 3rd quickest car. And he always qualifies in or around 8th place. It's really not impressive, although, in his defence, Michael Schumacher only qualified 1 place ahead of him. So, there you go. Then you've got Fernando Alonso, Ralf Schumacher. Now that is actually Ralf Schumacher back in his car because in the previous race it was Marc Genet in the Williams, but for this Grand Prix it was Ralf Schumacher in Ralf Schumacher's seat. So you got Ralf Schumacher, then Montoya. There's the shock result, Olivier Panis in a Toyota. This is only Toyota's 2nd season in Formula 1 and he's qualified in 3rd. Fantastic, I mean that's fantastic for Toyota full stop. I mean I guess maybe slightly more impressive considering it's only their 2nd season, but Toyota never really progressed beyond the top of the midfield, unfortunately for them. I mean Formula 1 was kind of just a massive waste of money for them because they must have poured millions and millions of yen and just looked inferior to Honda. Although not this time it must be said because Panis in 18th, 3rd place. The only drivers who beat him in qualifying were Rubens Barrichello and Kimi Räikkönen. So that's the starting grid, but let me talk through the championship battles. First off, the Constructors' Championship. It is as sewn up as it can be without actually being sewn up. Ferrari are 36 points ahead of McLaren. The maximum amount of points a team can score in the next 2 races is 36. So, if McLaren were to get a 1-2 finish in the next 2 races, and if Ferrari were to score no points at all over the course of the next 2 races, then McLaren and Ferrari would end the season tied on points. But in that scenario, the tiebreaker is which team has a driver higher up in the Drivers' Championship. And as it stands, both Ferrari drivers are ahead of both McLaren drivers. And Kimi Räikkönen can't pass either Ferrari driver in the championship. David Coulthard can. David Coulthard is 16 points behind Rubens Barrichello. He's 8 points behind Michael Schumacher in 2nd. Basically, David Coulthard needs to finish at least 2nd in this race. And even then, that's assuming that Michael Schumacher doesn't beat him in this race, and that's assuming that Barrichello scores next to no points. So David Coulthard needs to finish at least second. That's distilling that down as much as possible, but then you've got both Ferrari drivers. Michael Schumacher is 8 points behind Rubens Barrichello. 8 points is a large gap to close down in only 2 races. You're talking just under a race win's worth of points. That's a lot to close down in only 2 races. If Rubens Barrichello loses this championship, it's going to be down to 2 things. Either he is thrashed by Michael Schumacher in the races, because the points difference between each adjacent position in this point system is only 2 points maximum, or 1 point. So Michael Schumacher will either have to thrash Rubens Barrichello, or, now here's the big thing, or reliability will play a factor. So that's something to bear in mind. But anyway, let's stop speculating and start watching the 2003 Reverse Grid American Grand Prix.
Another huge crowd packed into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway here this afternoon, but they're getting a bit wet because this is going to be quite a difficult afternoon for everybody. Everybody seems to have got away well between these concrete walls. Over the yard of bricks they go, and down towards turn 1. It's nice and wide here, so hopefully they'll all be able to get through safely.
Well, they've got through safely, but Justin Wilson has lost a number of positions already. Slow off the getaway, so that's how Jos Verstappen has taken the race lead. Barrichello in second, Frentzen in third, Heidfeld in fourth, Button fifth. They have all passed Justin Wilson. Well, Wilson side by side with his compatriot, but Jenson Button, he is famously good in these sorts of conditions. And whoa, Wilson going incredibly slowly, so he's in the final points place already. He started on pole position. I mean, you would have thought Nicholas Kieser was actually driving this car. I know he qualified in real life and raced in real life, but as far as this game is concerned, it's still Justin Wilson. There is Michael Schumacher. This is big news for the championship. Michael Schumacher already in the points place. Barrichello isn't, neither's David Coulthard. And in fact, there is David Coulthard, and where is Barrichello? Barrichello in last. Wow, as it stands, Barrichello's championship lead is going to be lessened, and at quite a rate.
It looks as though he's lining up to try to make the pass.
Ferrari's Michael Schumacher is doing his best to keep the other car behind him. Two cars touch, a definite coming together there with the BAR. Schumacher is getting ready to try and pass Villeneuve. And it looks as though he's passing. Yes! Great driving!
Reliability issues can come into play, but Michael Schumacher, as it stands, is going to score 2 points, and he's coming up to the back of Nick Heidfeld. Jenson Button now in 4th place, and holding firm for the time being. Heidfeld still in 5th, but Schumacher's got the inside line, and he's got the grip. Has he? Yes, he has. Michael Schumacher in 5th place. Jenson Button 4th. Barrichello 3rd. Frentzen 2nd. Jos Verstappen in 1st, with 22 laps still left to run.
Frentzen looks like he will improve on his current time. He's gone faster than before through Sector 1. Button has just improved on his previous best in Sector 1.
It looks as though he's lining up to try and make a pass. Barrichello is lining up Schumacher.
Ferrari's Michael Schumacher just set a new best time in the 2nd sector.
Oh, you don't say. You really don't say. There is Michael Schumacher passing Nick Heidfeld. I probably won't even have cut away. I probably won't have done, because just mere seconds after I stopped commentating, Michael Schumacher's in the race lead. Look at that. This is big news for the championship. Well, Michael Schumacher winning in of itself isn't big, but If Michael Schumacher wins and Barrichello finishes certainly outside of the top 3, then that's massive. It's really big, because I was kind of going on the assumption that Michael Schumacher was only going to finish 1 or 2 places ahead of his teammate. So far, he's 11 places ahead. As it stands, actually, Michael Schumacher would take the lead of the Drivers' Championship. He'd be 2 points ahead of his teammate.
It looks as though he's lining up to try to make the pass.
Keep back Nick Heidfeld. BAR's Jenson Button will surely have a go and see if he can pass Webber.
Well, Webber, I mean, Mark Webber was just not even opportunistic, but a lot of the other drivers slowed down. Webber didn't. That McLaren driver, David Coulthard, crucially, he didn't. There's Rubens Barrichello in 6th place. Now, this is all about damage limitation. If Rubens Barrichello finishes in 2nd, then suddenly he's only losing 2 points to his teammate. He'll still have a 6-point lead with 1 race left to go. That's massively different to how it is now. He's in 6th place, which means he'll score 3 points as it stands, which means he would be only 1 point ahead of his teammate. Every single position that Barrichello makes up makes his job at defending the championship easier. That's the thing, is there is nothing else Michael can do. He's leading the race, that's it. He can't score any more points. Once you're in the race lead, it doesn't matter whether you lead, whether you win by a minute or 1 second or get the fastest lap, it does not matter. You can only get 10 points. Barrichello has still got positions to make up, and every position he makes up, that is an extra point he scores and an extra point that Michael Schumacher has to catch up during the Japanese Grand Prix. And I have to say, for a wet race, we are seeing quite a lot of overtakes. I mean, both Ferrari drivers, of course, have made up a lot of places, but both Sauber drivers have also got a bit racy. There is Heinz-Harald Frentzen passing Fizzy Keller. Nick Heidfeld has also been battling with both BAR drivers. But there you go, Rubens Barrichello using his Ferrari power to get into 3rd place. So, all he has to do is get past Jos Verstappen, who amazingly is still in 2nd place. And then there you go, Barrichello will be scoring 8 points from this Grand Prix. Michael only 10, well I say only 10, but it's 10 points, only 2 more than his teammate. So, we may as well stick with it, because the last time I stopped commentating, a Ferrari driver made up a load of places. Wow, a 2nd a lap difference. In fact, actually no, because, well, that's just on the previous lap. Barrichello, I think that was when he was in clean air, did a 1 minute 15.6, so 2.1 seconds quicker than a Minardi. There's Barrichello through the twistier section, making an overtake, and Frentzen followed him through. Let's actually have a look at that on the replay, because this is someone other than a Ferrari driver getting past Jos Verstappen. So, I mean, Frentzen can see nothing. This is quite a good spray effect, actually. He can just see, you know, vaguely the red flashing light. But there's Barrichello. He set himself up for that corner. He went around the outside for the first corner, inside for the second one, and Frentzen, well, I think Verstappen was just caught out, really, and Frentzen, well, Verstappen left space, Frentzen took it, simple as. So, we've got a all-Ferrari powered top 3, Michael Schumacher leading the way, Rubens Barrichello in 2nd, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 3rd. Verstappen are way away from the podium places, because of course Frentzen in 3rd, but then Fizzy Keller also got past Verstappen for 4th, it's Raikkonen 5th, Coulthard 6th, and Button has also got past, and Montoya, oh right, okay, Verstappen's fallen down even further than I thought he had, yeah, he's in 13th place now. So, Verstappen held firm for a long time, but he's lost so many places in such a short amount of time, it's worked out that he's lost more than a position a lap. Anyway, so, we don't really need to focus on Jos Verstappen. It's really both Ferrari drivers. For the Drivers' Championship, this is all we really need to focus on, but It's like the 2005 American Grand Prix. No one's going to battle them. They're just out there, running on their own, and unless one of them retires, that's it. So, I think we already know the story of the Drivers' Championship heading into the Japanese Grand Prix. We know what Michael Schumacher has to do to win a Drivers' Championship. Of course, that could all change if Schumacher retires or if Barrichello retires. If Schumacher retires, then his championship charge is done. If Barrichello retires, suddenly, Michael Schumacher, assuming he wins this race, he would end the American Grand Prix in the championship lead. Well, this is quite a sight, isn't it? Michael Schumacher is lapping drivers already. There's still 8, now 7 laps left to run, and Michael Schumacher is lapping drivers.
Ferrari's Michael Schumacher has gone wide, but he's kept it all together. Kimi Raikkonen is lining up Frentzen. You can see he's all over the back of the car in front, trying to find the right time to overtake. Raikkonen will surely have a go and see if he can pass David Coulthard.
Well, that's the thing. That is the problem right there. Let's see if we can go on board with Kimi Raikkonen. So he's behind Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and for the first time in a while, we actually saw a McLaren driver have a go and try and get past Frentzen, but every time they try and make the move, it doesn't work. The move then fails, and then the McLaren driver behind passes the one in front. So you just get a swapping of positions, basically, and this is why no progress is really being made.
McLaren's Kimi Raikkonen is doing his best to move up a place by getting past Heinz-Harald Frentzen.
And it looks as though he's passing. Yes, he's passed.
Well, I can understand why Brundle was infused about that move, because it's been a long time coming. But Kimi Raikkonen finally tried to make the move round to the banking, the high-speed section of track. I mean, that's where Michael Schumacher made up a load of his positions. Kimi Raikkonen finally attempted the move there, and hopefully David Coulthard can use that information to get past Frentzen himself, but I really doubt it. I really do doubt it.
Raikkonen looks like he will improve on his current time. He's gone faster than before through Sector 1.
Michael Schumacher. He's going to need luck on his side during the Japanese Grand Prix. He really is. 6 points to close up in one race. That's tough. With this point system, that's really tough. He's going to need Barrichello to retire, in essence, or hope Barrichello gets caught up in traffic. But there's lots of things that can happen. All I do know is that Michael Schumacher has done all he possibly could and then some, lapping dozens of drivers and dominating the 2003 American Grand Prix.
Fantastic result for him and the team, and a full 10 points for both in their respective championship campaigns. Let's head straight over now and join them for the podium celebration.
Rubens Barrichello coming round the banking, down the start-finish straight, and he has finished in second. That is exactly what Barrichello needed to do. I never anticipated for Barrichello to beat Schumacher. That just wasn't going to happen, but as long as Barrichello finished second in both races, as long as he finished second, or at least one place behind his teammate in both races, there is nothing Michael can do. So Barrichello's done all he needed to do, which was finish one place behind his teammate. Kimi Raikkonen, third place. Took his time to get into third place, but he did it. David Coulthard on the final lap, passing Heinz-Harald Frentzen round the banking. We saw the end of that move. David Coulthard in fourth, so it's a Ferrari 1-2, a McLaren 3-4. Frentzen, fantastic job in fifth. Montoya in sixth, passing Jenson Button, and Mark Webber still in eighth. So that was the 2003 Reverse Grid American Grand Prix, and I've got nothing to say. Well, nothing which isn't already shown on the results screen. Michael Schumacher beat everyone, bar his teammate, by over a minute. Over a minute, that's That's ridiculous. I mean, you're talking about early F1 race-winning margins with modern-day F1 reliability. Only 2 drivers retired. Neither of them I saw, actually. I have no idea, not a single idea when Nick Heidfeld retired, and Fisichella's retirement I did miss, unfortunately. But even still, it didn't really change the face of the race much. I mean, both McLaren drivers still took their bittersweet time passing Heinz-Harald Frentzen. I mean, they did it just about in time. David Coulthard especially doing it with seconds, with meters to spare. In the Drivers' Championship, Michael Schumacher has shot up to 78 points, which is more than Rubens Barrichello had entering this race. But unfortunately for Michael Schumacher, Barrichello finished in second. He scored 8 points, so he's 6 points ahead of his teammate. Realistically, it is unlikely Schumacher will win the championship. Of course, it is certainly still possible. If Barrichello retires from the Japanese Grand Prix, then suddenly the door is pushed wide open for Michael Schumacher to score 10 points, Barrichello none, and that's what Schumacher needs. Schumacher needs to outscore Barrichello by 6 points. David Coulthard is now officially out of the championship battle. And actually, he's guaranteed to finish in third because he can't pass Michael Schumacher, and Montoya or Kimi Raikkonen can't outscore Coulthard. So Coulthard is guaranteed to finish third in the Drivers' Championship. Kimi Raikkonen has overtaken Montoya as a result of this Grand Prix. Jenson Button scored 2 points but hasn't made any difference position-wise. He's just caught up to both Renault drivers. And Frentzen recently has been on a bit of a roll. It wasn't that long ago that Heinz-Harald Frentzen was bottom of the Drivers' Championship. Now he's got 10 points, and in this Grand Prix he scored 4 points and overtook Mark Webber. And that's despite the fact that Mark Webber scored a point in this Grand Prix as well. Ferrari are now officially the Formula 1 2003 Reverse Grid Constructors Champions. They've won it with a race to spare, although let's be honest, they basically won it with 2 races left to go because McLaren, they were clutching at not even straws. I think a singular piece of straw is what McLaren were clutching onto heading into the American Grand Prix. Anyway, Ferrari have won it, no surprise there. Behind Ferrari and McLaren, there's actually been quite a bit of movement. Williams only scored 3 points. That was enough to pass Renault. Both Renault drivers, they were just outside of the points places, but ultimately they scored no points. Williams scored 3 thanks to Montoya, and Williams are now 2 points ahead of Renault. That is it, just 2 points. Sauber, thanks to Heinz-Harald Frentzen, scored 4 points. That was enough to level with Jordan. And as I talked about at the start of this video, in the Constructors' Championship, when you have 2 teams tied on points, the tiebreaker is which team has a driver higher up in the Drivers' Championship. And Frentzen, yes, he's below both Fisichella and Furman, but Heidfeld is ahead of all 3 of them. And that's exactly why Sauber, although they're tied on points with Jordan, are ahead of them. And they're only 5 points behind Minardi, so a lot could happen in the final Grand Prix, because the final Grand Prix is being held at Suzuka, as I've mentioned before in this video. And Suzuka is quite a high-speed circuit, but it's narrow, it's quite complex, there's not really that many overtaking opportunities. It will likely play to the backmarker teams, so potentially Jordan could re-overtake Sauber as a result of the Japanese Grand Prix. Minardi, of course, could score a few points. Who knows? Although really, all eyes will be on Michael Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello, because leaving Suzuka, one of them is going to be the 2003 World Drivers' Champion. So I'll see you guys in the next episode where we'll find out who it's going to be.